All right, welcome back to ClickUp Mastery. My name is Amalie Schaefer. I'm with Systematic Excellence Consulting, and today I have my friend and colleague as my guest, and we are going to go over managing a website design agency using ClickUp. And Julie is has been a client of mine. We're also friends. She is the founder of Zuby Media and the creator of the Gutsy Mama Project. And I'm really excited for you to be here. I know that we created this template initially for you to use, but then we turned it into a template that your mamas can use. And
Yeah.
so just tell us a little bit about your business, about the Gutsy Mama Project. And then I definitely just want to roll right in and show them the template and how we've set that up to manage a web design agency.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Zuby Media is a business I've had for a long time, and I never really did it with any systems. And when I started to get really busy and started to bring on people and virtual assistants and things like that, I knew that I needed to figure out the way to make it all happen so that things would be in one place, because I was starting to spend an endless amount of time searching through emails on every project, which just cuts into your profit margin, because that's
Yeah.
just more time that you spend searching emails when you could be designing, or better yet, not working,
Yeah.
spending time with your family, doing things that you would prefer to be doing rather than
Yeah.
going through that. So ClickUp was kind of the way that I decided to go with, because I felt like it had like the Trello elements and sort of the Asana elements, and visually it worked for me. I'm a visual person,
Yeah.
and then support and things like that. So when I decided to go with ClickUp, I went all in on ClickUp, and I'm really happy that I did. I'm really happy that I, at the same time, hired you to help me with it.
Yeah. It was a great opportunity to build it out because
Yeah.
you had already, and it's not like you didn't have them. I think when you hired me, it forced you sort of to kind of to brain dump all the things that you had been doing, which
Yeah.
was great because you needed to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And because you were growing and as you grow, as you build a team, you need all those elements. You need everything out of your head and in on something that someone else can follow.
Absolutely. I mean, it finally forced me to write down, like, these are my systems.
Yeah.
This is how I do this. And when I did that, it really, it forced me to streamline. Wait, it gave me the opportunity to be like, okay, what can I give to someone else? What can I give to my virtual assistant? What can I
Right.
take off my plate
Right.
and assign to someone else?
Yeah.
And then it also helped me just refine that process in a way that helped me just save time.
Yeah. Like where are the inefficiencies? Because you don't know where the inefficiencies are unless you know what the whole unless you can see the whole process together. Otherwise, how can you even you have to scope out a project before you know how long it's going to
Mhm.
take, right? So you got to
100%.
scope out the process before you can say like where the inefficiencies are or whatever. So I think it was a great opportunity, for both of us, and it was nice to for me to get the opportunity to build out a template for you using your processes. So basically, I just translated what you already had into
Mhm.
ClickUp. I just translated it, and then being able to use the templates, the shareable templates in ClickUp, where you can share them with all of the women in your group, which is really helpful because
Yeah,
it gives them a great starting place.
100%. And it gives them a checklist to follow. The moms in the Gutsy Mama Project, some of them have never built websites, or some of them have, but they've never done it in sort of an agency status. So just being able to go through and click off and go down the list and have the knowledge that they haven't missed anything,
Yeah.
um, it's so helpful. And it really helps them refine their processes from the beginning,
Yeah.
rather than waiting several years like I did till it got to the point where I had to make a decision. So when they
Yeah.
start at the beginning and they've got these checklists and templates that they can follow through for each step,
Yeah.
it creates a roadmap for them that
Yeah.
they really needed.
Yeah. Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the Gutsy Mama Project? And then I want to roll into because I want to give you an opportunity to share about it. And then at the end, we'll say where they can find it. But if you just want to tell us a little bit about that program.
Sure. The Gutsy Mama Project is a course that I have built because I recognized when I became a mother that for me, working outside of the house didn't work and being a stay-at-home mother didn't work. Each had a different layer of guilt, either mommy guilt or mommy money guilt for me. And I enjoyed working. I enjoyed creating projects. So I started building Squarespace websites. And I recognized when my daughter was a few years old that other moms probably want to do the same thing too. So I created the Gutsy Mama Project to give moms all the tools that they need to build, grow, and scale a Squarespace agency. You know, going from never built a website before to badass, gutsy website designing mamas. So that's why I created the Gutsy Mama Project.
Oh, I love that. And that's so great. And I actually still work with the women 100%. In your program, and it's really awesome. It's such a great experience. So, all right, well, let's just dive in here. So if you want to share your screen and pull up the template that we built, and let's just kind of talk through it and what the important elements are of it and all of that. Just, you know, and I'll try to think of all the questions that I imagine people will ask while they look at it.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. So, all right. So we're starting here, and let's just talk through just the main portion of this. This is from like kind of the beginning, like you've onboarded the client and then you're here and now what do you do? Right. That's kind of like the setup here. Okay.
It's 100% right.
Okay, perfect. And let's just, do you want to start at the beginning and let's talk through the different phases. Why do you split it up that way into those phases? Let's start there.
Okay, so this is where I start. So instructions to this list, I actually created a board in here for important links because it's nice to always have one page, one place to go to. So this is where I keep my, a link to my Google folder and any Google information that they have for them, any important contracts. This is where I link to their Dubsado project if I want to have that, so I can have that for myself and be able to go to one place for it.
Right. And give them a quick link if they need to.
100%. And then I've broken this out into pre-build, like pre-build for copy phase, pre-build for web design phase, and then website launch. And the reason I've broken it out as I have is because some clients only need web design and web development, or some need copy, some need more or less. So I've broken it out in such a way where I can add these different phases to projects as they're needed. So, and then I can put the time frames on them based on that. So I've broken it out in that way so that I could really personalize it for every single client.
Yeah. And then this is actually a folder template so that when you get a new client, you duplicate the folder, which is something I've mentioned in previous videos. We do the same thing. So like when I help build out templates and stuff, I do it a lot based on how we do things. I always tell people this is just one way to do it. There's millions of ways to do these things, but you have a folder. And so when you get a new client, part of your onboarding process is to duplicate that folder, and it'll include all of this list, all of these tasks and subtasks. And then if you don't need them, you just delete them, right? Like if let's say you don't need a portion of it, you'll just delete it and go from there. So 100%. I think the important thing here is figuring out like the first step to when you have an agency, right? You're going to have, no matter what kind of agency you have, most likely you're going to have repeating projects. Like if you're an ad agency, you're going to have the same sort of projects. If you're a web design agency, you're going to have the same sort of projects. So it's a good idea to build out, okay, what does a general project look like for you? And that's what we did here, right? We built out what a general project. That doesn't mean that you'll never get a project that is something different or customized, right? But this is the main thing that you would be doing. And also it applies to the women in your group. This is 100%. The main project that they'll do. So even though you have some custom projects, you can come in and change this based on that. But this is the general project that or service that you offer. And I think that's 100%. Really important when people are starting. That I get that a lot of people have, customized services, but in order to make your life easier, you want to get that initial sort of, okay, what's the basic service that I offer? And then I can customize these tasks based on that. And that's what we did.
And just kind of like the overarching umbrella
Right.
for your business. You know, if you're a marketing company, you want to write down sort of your marketing steps, and then you can break it down if you're doing web design or social media or whatever it is. But you kind of want that overarching umbrella
Yeah.
of standard operating procedures so that you can just get them down, like the biggest, hairiest, most important things you need to do for your clients. Like,
Yeah.
let's put this in a list right away so you can make sure not to miss anything.
Yeah.
Because when I don't know about anyone else, but I was keeping all of these things in my brain.
Yeah. And that's hard to do when you get past like 3 clients, right? Like,
Yeah, and it's hard to do when you're a mom too, because
right.
mommy brain is real. Any moms out there watching will tell you that it is real. So having these things written down in a checklist that I don't have to write down singularly every time for each project has been a really nice change.
Yeah. And let me ask you this. Do you give your client access to this list? Do they see this list when they're onboarded?
They do not. This is for me. I have certain notes in here for myself, like little things that they have this is my list of all the things that they have no need to know about.
Gotcha.
You know, the hundreds of little things that, well, not hundreds, but the several little things in a web design project. Most clients just think, oh, you put in images and words and then you get a website. Well, there's a bunch of little smaller things and design things and SEO and making sure that all your URLs are right and all of these things that clients don't need to know about that I keep in these lists. So I make sure not to miss anything.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's go through the phases if you don't mind. Let's look at like the pre-building copy phase and what those subtasks look like. Let's just kind of dive in here.
Yeah. So like I said, you know, personalized client questionnaire inside the Gutsy Mama Project, I give moms questionnaires and that really walk them through each phase of copy in a website. So, and part of that is a client questionnaire that really dives deep into what information clients need to have on their website to make it money making, to make it convert people into clients. So that's in here, you know, competitor research, review the client copy questionnaire, write the copy, make first draft, make revisions, send revised copies to clients, because you really want to have these things timed out. All of these things, when I work with a client as part of the boundaries that one sets, and what I really recommend is that I put things on deadlines. So in my contract, it says, okay, you've got 1 week to make revisions. I'll send you the revised copy by this date. Once we're there, we are finished and we're moving on to the next phase. So we can add all of those in and add these dates in. So complete final draft of copy. So that's sort of this phase for writing copy. And we can, based on the length of the project, we can change those and update them and put in due dates that work in the schedule. And we can do that all at the beginning, right when we have the contract signed, because all of that information is in there.
Awesome. I just want to make one note here. So with checklists, you can assign checklist items to people. You can't give them due dates though. So for you, Julie, this works out fine because you may only have at this point, right, you or your, you know, a VA that's supporting in some ways. If it's a bigger team, a bigger agency, taking a critical look at where you're delegating to other people, and that to me kind of puts my mind in the mindset of, okay, it needs to be a subtask versus a checklist. For you, this works as a checklist, but if you grow any larger, like this is something you and I have talked about, that then it would need to become more of like a subtask versus a checklist item, because you're going to be delegating to more people. But right now it's you and you have a VA that would be supporting you on some of these things. So it makes sense that you have checklists, and this is just a reflection of the SOP that you have written out in a Google Doc. This is more of like a reminder, like, don't forget to do this thing, or don't forget, like, you know what I mean? It's like okay, got it, right? Like, these are all things, you know, and these aren't the step-by-step instructions. This is just hey, don't forget to do these things for this stage in the project. And I just want to make that note for anyone watching. The checklist isn't meant to be, it's not meant to replace the SOP where it has like, go here and do this thing, right? Like that's the SOP. This is like a reminder of, here's all the things that I don't forget to do. You know what I mean?
Right. 100%. And like that's part of the training. I'm not going to put all of that in my SOPs because
Right.
when I share these with the moms, there's videos and
Yeah.
there's a whole course about how to do these things, so they can take these and reference back to the course. And once you know how to do them, you kind of know how to do them.
Right, exactly. And it's more of just a reminder. Like if you have a lot
100%.
going on, you can quickly look to say, oh, I forgot to do this one thing and now I can do it. Cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
and especially in phases later on, like in the launch phase when you're getting ready to launch a website, making sure that all your URLs are right and making sure that your SEO is set up, making sure that all your meta tags are in, all of those things. When it gets down to the nitty gritty little details of our project, especially when you're finishing up, you don't want to miss anything. That's when this checklist can be like, boom, 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 boom. I got all of these things done.
Yeah.
So it's really just about, okay, I got this done.
Yeah. And the checklists are helpful too for like QA. If you do have people working on it and you're QAing to see, okay, did everything get done that needs to get done? You can quickly look at the checklist to see, did they get it done or not? And so I think if anyone watching doesn't like the checklist, you could absolutely make each of these a subtask. Do I think it's
100%.
necessary? Not always, but it could be if you wanted to. And that's what's great about ClickUp. There's a lot of flexibility with that. So, all right,
100%.
well, let's move on to the next stage. So that was the pre-build. So now we're in the web design.
And
then so again, we have go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm missing some stuff in here.
Okay, well, that's fine. Anyway, so this is the no problem. This is the pre-web design phase. Again, there's checklist items on this, and we did link your SOP up at the top in the description of the task, right? So we have that available too, which is really helpful. And we put all of the like client onboarding and each of the phases in here, which makes it really nice. Okay, well, let's go to the next. Let's go to the next phase.
Let's make sure everything's.
Go.
Oh wait, no, that phase looks about right because it's a shorter phase because it's.
Yeah, and so this is the longer one, and again, this is just these are just reminders and of how to do what needs to get done. We want to, when you have an SOP and a checklist, you want to have both available so people can follow the SOP easily, but also, check items off. But the nice thing is once you create a template out of this, you don't have to recreate this every single time, right? You just create it once. So do you want to talk through this phase a bit?
Yeah, so this is really, I don't necessarily need all of this detail because I've built a lot of websites and I have my way of doing it, especially when it comes to actually like building and designing a website. Yeah. But this is really set up for the moms in the Gutsy Mama Project who've never built a website. So they go to a Squarespace template and they just look kind of deer in headlights. So this is really like taking them from, okay, start at the top, add your logo, add your favicon. So it's like a bunch of little details that I see. Some of them are like little details that I see on people who've built their own websites that they didn't take care of that make them look like, oh, by the way, I built my own website. And P.S. I can tell. So a lot of these things are the little tiny details that they need to know how to do. This isn't me telling them like, this is how you add your favicon, but this is me saying, make sure that you do that. So it really takes them from, starting at the top of the website and building the website down. All of the steps I take on every website build that I do now out of muscle memory. Now these moms can know that, okay, I'm going to take them through every little task that they need to do in order to make this happen.
Awesome. And then this kind of also helps with, right? Like you're referring to the women in your group, but this applies to if you're growing a web design agency and you have team members coming in and taking on like pieces of this, you're essentially going to need the exact same thing because they're going to need to know like what are the little steps, especially if you've hired or brought on new web designers on your team, or you've moved someone from graphic designer to web designer, or hired internally, something like that. These are the same kinds of things to have. And even if you do know the steps by heart, important, especially when you have multiple people working on a project, to have these kinds of details in there. Like
Yeah.
for each of our, producing videos, right? My copywriter, the copywriter and the designer know what they need to do, but I still have a checklist for them because things happen, shit happens, people skip over things,
Yeah.
whatever, things get missed, but it's just a reminder to them. But it also makes it easier for me because I can quickly go see, okay, what have they done? What do they have to, what do they have left to
Right.
do? How much, maybe there's only 30 minutes of work left. Like I can quickly look at that based on seeing the progress they've made on the checklist. So
And
although
it also,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I was just saying, and it also makes it easier, like for my virtual assistant, who is not necessarily a web designer,
Exactly.
some of the smaller tasks that aren't like super design heavy that they can handle for me, I can
Yeah.
easily just go, send that off to them. So
Yeah.
it makes it a lot easier on that side as well.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And I just wanted to draw the line to like, this was built with the idea of helping the women in your
100%.
program and to assist them in building their own agencies. But if someone watching has an agency right now or is growing their agency, this still applies. Like having these kinds of details is important. It's really about, offloading your brain, like getting all of whatever's in your brain out somewhere where other people
Right.
can read it and take action on it. So
And these things are constantly changing too. Just the fact that I can update these templates so simply, like Squarespace itself is constantly changing. They're adding
yeah,
features,
true.
they're adding new things. Not only that, as you take on different kinds of clients, you might need to use different kinds of services and CRMs and all of these things. So you can add those in really easily to the template, and then it's just there forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Into all of your future projects, which is just so helpful.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, cool. Let's go the next phase here. I think it's the launch phase. So this one we put as subtasks, and actually if you I'll talk to that because I actually did that, and because the reason I did that is because a lot of these things will happen at different times, right? Like
Mhm.
when I think about whether I'm going to use subtasks or checklists and it's for something just for me or just for one person, I think about the timeline. So if if the task or the action is going to happen at a different time, like each line item is going to happen at a different time, I generally put them as subtasks because what it allows me to do is assign due dates for them.
Mhm.
Like so the overall task will get a due date down the road, and then I'll reverse engineer it and start putting due dates to these other items. And the reason I did this in my mind, because it's kind of how you had it built out in your notes when I was building from it, was that a lot of these things aren't going to happen all at once. Whereas like that
Mhm.
web design one, it was the items that were all going to happen at one time where you
Yeah.
sit down and design it. This is like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I got to collect payment. Got it. But then the next thing, like you're not going to collect payment and get the client testimonial at the same time. You're going to need a reminder for both of those.
Right.
And that's why I kind of decided that's sort of my thought process when I'm building them out, like for myself too, and for my team is okay, well, is this something that happens at different times or is this something that's going to happen all at once? And how many people are working on it? And that's how I kind of decipher whether it's a checklist or a subtask item. So,
Yeah. That's a great way to think about it.
yeah. And so for this one, so this is like your launch. This is the end piece before.
Mhm.
So when you're in this phase, at this point, have you already had the client review it? You've
Yeah.
already had the client review it, right?
This point, the client is like, yes, I love it.
Okay.
Let's launch it. So this is like launch phase and like everything after, setting them up to receive emails so you can check in, getting testimonials, payment, transferring ownership of the website, launching it, all of those things. That's when this phase comes into final play. Yeah.
Yeah. And I see that you have like sometimes I know that you sometimes do additional copywriting for the client,
Mhm.
not just for the website. At what point in your process here would you do any additional, like if they asked you for maybe an email sequence, or I'm trying to think of some other copywriting that you do for them. When would you do that piece of it, like in the process?
I would probably do that somewhere in web design in the earlier phase, so that like
Okay.
sometimes I have clients who help me, ask me to help them with, say, a lead magnet, which would be, and like the lead magnet in the email phase would actually kind of be separate. So that would kind of go congruently so that I could launch a lead magnet with a 6 email sequence or 7 email sequence right on its heels. So that would kind of go congruently. Probably in tasks somewhere. So that would be a separate phase, but it works very similarly to the website writing phase. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's really more of messaging and making sure that messaging is sort of the same. But I've lots of clients who bring me on for web mastering. So that's kind of a monthly thing where I check in every month, make sure everything's going nice and everything still looks pretty, because the internet is constantly changing. And then I can create tasks and give them to my VA, like, hey, I noticed this on a website. Can you go fix it? Which is like, something that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. And then there was one other thing that you were going to share, the how you kind of save ideas. Do you want to show that? I think that's really helpful.
So I wanted to share this, and it is really helpful because I use it for this isn't my exact board because I don't want everyone to see what I'm inspired by, but this is a copy of my board. But I use the ClickUp Chrome extension to take screenshots of websites that I really like. So just as sort of an inspiration board, it's like my own little website Pinterest board, I guess you could call it. Because, little secret, everyone takes a little bit of inspiration from everyone else, and that's great. So I use this as a way to keep myself organized. So if I'm looking to build a black and white website, I've got some examples of black and white websites. If I'm looking to build a neutral colored website, I've got some examples of neutral color websites. If I just go to a website and like, wow, I really like the layout of this, so that I can go somewhere when I've got a new project and I'm trying to think of it, because I try to make every website special, every website look a little bit different. So I can go to my inspiration board and be like, let's go ahead and look at that. And it's just become a really nice way for me to organize these things, because I won't even show you my Chrome bookmark bar. It's just, it's bananas. It's completely useless in every way, shape, or form. But I can use this if I wanted to. I love it having in board view. It feels like Trello a little bit. But the Chrome extension app is so nice just because it takes the photo, it takes the screenshot for you. And I just create a new task or subtask in this particular board. And then it just lives there. Really, they get added here. And then eventually I come in and I move it. Okay, so this would probably go into my black and white one, right?
Yeah.
So I can kind of move things around. It's a great way. I have, some sections I'm like, I really like how this footer is set up, or I really like how I could use this in a particular section of a website or a contact page. That's really cool. Or I even use it as a way to be like, I don't know how they did that. So if I've got a little time, I'm going to figure out the code that they used, how they CSS'd that. It's a great way for me to gain a little inspiration. It's a great way for me to like move forward in my own design.
Yeah, I love that. And then so if someone is just starting out building their web design or web build agency, what advice would you give them as they're getting started? They're getting the business up and running. I know one thing you mentioned was getting a jump on the processes and not waiting on those. And I totally agree with you. What other advice would you give them?
Charge for everything. I think as newbies, and people, when you're starting your own business, I think that's some of the best advice I can give you is people want to try and take advantage of you as they're your friend. And I'm all for giving a friend discount, but I still charge all of my friends for everything because they have to appreciate that. And it will make a real difference to your bottom line. It's a big piece of advice. And if they're asking for something for free, if they're your friend, they're probably not your friend.
Yeah.
So that's my first piece of advice. And my second, I have 3 pieces of advice. 1, charge for everything. 2, do your marketing first. Every day. It's more important than your client work. It's more important than any of the admin tasks in your business. And you know what? It should be in your ClickUp on your to-do list every day, even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes of marketing for your business. It's creating your social posts. It's writing a blog. It's all of these things that are marketing for your business. Marketing for your business is probably the most important thing you can do because it's what gets people in your funnel. It's what gets people in. And then my third piece of advice for anyone who started is, online, it's easy to see people are always like, I did this really fast, blah, blah, blah. And some people do. Like, I made $100,000 in 2 months. I'm like, that's amazing. Congratulations. But that's the exception to the rule. So give yourself the grace and the time to get a business started properly and practically. Some people do it in a month. Some people do it in 6 months. Some people take a year. I've got moms in the Gutsy Mama Project who bought the course like first thing and are just now coming to do it. And I'm like, welcome, mama. Welcome back. Let's freaking do this. They'll email me and they'll be like, can I still work with you? I was like,
of course.
Let's do this. Like, it's so exciting. I'm like, yay. I see them lurking in the Facebook group and things like that. So I'm like, okay, whenever you're ready, come on back. So, you got to give yourself the time it takes because it's very rarely instantaneous for people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And just to reiterate, having structure, right? I know in the beginning it's easy to just do the things, but having the structure in place. So when you're ready, most of the time when people are ready to hire, it's almost too late because they're like knee deep in the shit looking for someone to help them, but there's no way to help them because everything's in their head. So it's just this sort of evil cycle of like, everything's in your head, you're knee deep, you're up to your eyeballs in work, you need help right now, but you don't have anything written down. And it's just like, it's so hard because when I come into situations like that all the time with clients and I think, oh my goodness, like if you would have just hit me up like 6 months ago, we could have like avoided this pain point where you're at right now, and it might seem like a lot of work in the beginning to kind of get some of these things in place, but it's so important.
And I think when you're just starting out, people don't realize you're the CEO of your company, right? But they don't realize the other positions. You're the chief marketing officer, you're the chief operating officer. So ClickUp can help you be the chief operations officer that you need to be. And for me, like I'm a creatively brained person. So having these things that are set up, I looked at ClickUp and I was like, I need Amalie to help me set this up, please, because my creative brain didn't do this, was just different. So, but having this and having the options to have it look creative like this in the board, and then being able to be like, okay, I know that I really only have one thing that I have to do. I have to go to ClickUp and get all these things and see what I need to do today. As opposed to the 75 Post-it notes and the 4 notebooks with random things written in them. I'm not gonna lie, that's what it looked like.
Hey, that's fair, Thank you for your honesty.
So as a creative person, knowing that all I have to do is go to that one thing is so much better.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, this has been really amazing. I'm really grateful that you joined me. If you can tell people where to find out more about the Gutsy Mama Project, and I will include the website in the show description so that they can access that. But if you want to just share with us now where they can.
Yeah, if you are a mom and you are interested in building, growing, and scaling a Squarespace design agency, go ahead and visit me at beagutsymama.com. If you've got questions, you can visit me in the Squarespace for Moms Facebook group, and I'm happy to answer them, or just slide into my DMs on Instagram at Gutsy Mama Project.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And if anyone has questions, leave them in the comments. I will answer what I can, and I will let Julie know if there's any that I cannot answer, and she will help me answer them.
Sure.
And make sure you subscribe to catch my future videos, and like and share this with anyone that you think would find it helpful. So thank you again so much. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Amalie.